The following program is an original production of WICC PBS Chicago.
In Illinois, more women are jumping political hurdles and landing in office, but are they still hitting a glass ceiling?
Plus, he entertains thousands of people every day without saying a word. We'll take you into the world of the original Chicago 10 Man.
And Mayor Emanuel's approval rating takes a big hit. Who might challenge him in next year's election? All of these stories and more on In the Loop. Good evening. I'm Chris Bury.
And I'm Barbara Pinto. Tonight, a closer look at women in politics.
This November, nearly 70 women will be on the ballot seeking public office across the state.
From mayor to the U.S. House and Senate, this city and state have long histories of electing strong female politicians.
The path to public office is never easy and can be especially tough for women. Tonight, we look at two aspiring candidates who hope to join the ranks of other women to hold office here in Illinois.
We represent more than 50% of the population, but we don't have more than 50% of the elected seats.
Illinois State Representative Laura Fine, a first-term Democrat from Glenview, will be seeking re-election this fall.
I think women really look at things from a different angle and add something to the political process that would otherwise be missing.
Raised in Glenview, Fine felt compelled to run for a seat in the General Assembly following a family tragedy. Her husband nearly died in a head-on collision, losing his left arm in the crash.
All of a sudden you realize the rug can be pulled out from under you in a second, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Fine's husband spent 5 weeks in the hospital. The bill, $500,000. Their insurance company refused to pay. The Fines came close to selling their house and cashing in on their savings just to pay off the medical debt. It took 7 months of wrangling and the threat of a lawsuit before the insurance company agreed to pay the bill.
So for me, that was part of the reason that I wanted to run, because I didn't want this to happen to anybody else.
Fine is among 41 women currently serving as state representatives in Springfield. 15 women are state senators. The Illinois Attorney General is a woman. So is the state controller and lieutenant governor. Unlike 36 other states, Illinois has not yet elected a female governor. Illinois now has 4 women serving in the U.S. House in Washington, none in the Senate. At Chicago City Hall, among the 50 aldermen, 16 are women. The city clerk is a woman, and so is the city treasurer. Women were not even allowed to vote in the U.S. until 1920. Rebecca Sive, author of the book entitled Every Day is Election Day, A Woman's Guide to Winning Any Office, calls this current era in politics the most significant since the women's suffrage movement.
We have at least a half a dozen women being talked about on both sides of the aisle as, serious, qualified, well-qualified candidates for the presidency and the vice presidency. And that's never happened before.
Illinois has a history of strong, colorful women in politics. Lottie Holman O'Neill was the first woman in the state legislature. Carol Mosley Braun was the first black female to serve in the U.S. Senate. And Jane Byrne was the first woman elected mayor of Chicago.
Tomorrow we're going to make the West Side come alive again, okay? All the way. All the way. All the way. All the way.
Today, female movers and shakers in Illinois and Chicago politics include Attorney General Lisa Madigan, Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, and the outspoken president of the Chicago's Teachers Union, Karen Lewis.
I'm not looking to make anybody's election year easy at all.
Obamacare is pretty much the thing that really did launch me into running for political office.
Sharon Brannigan is a small business owner running as a Republican for the U.S. Congress in the 3rd District. She and her husband run a flower shop in Orland Park.
So your total with tax and delivery comes to $173.13.
Brannigan says she's running because she feels as if nobody in Washington is listening to small business owners.
Being a female, I think I have a little bit advantage now. You know, you come into this arena, they're not used to you. Well, now they're really paying attention.
Women have come a long way since the suffrage movement. But according to author Rebecca Sive, the double standards still exist, with female candidates facing questions men would never have to answer.
People were talking about whether the fact that she had a grandchild or impending grandchild would mean that Secretary Clinton wouldn't run for president. Joe Biden was not asked that question and won't be asked that question.
Today we're joined by Michael McEwen, president of McEwen and Associates. Michael, welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
a pollster. Let's talk about that idea of a double standard. Does it still exist for women?
Yeah, because basically they put it on themselves. The thing is that Frederick Douglass said, power yields nothing without demands, never has, never will. I know some very strong, I've probably did a race for the strongest woman they've had here, Congresswoman Carter Collins. She beat Harold Washington's candidate twice, the House of Power. The reason she did it is that she said what she believed. One of the last things now, and I know some good young women coming up that are smart, both on the campaign coordinator side and on the office side, okay? And they don't understand, or they understand, but there's still this thing about if I say what I mean, I'm going to sound like the B word, okay? And we're now in a medium where it's a much, as you know, much hotter medium than it's ever been before. With the social networks and everything else like that, you've got to be able to say what you mean and do it.
Do women enter politics for different reasons than men do?
Sure. Not necessarily. I mean, the reason anybody goes into politics is because they feel they can add something to it. Whether you agree or disagree with it, it's a totally different thing. And that's one of the main things now in messaging that we do is I do a lot of work with Saturday Night Live and the political stuff, okay? The key thing now is you have to be able to communicate with people in a very direct way and a somewhat controversial way, because that's what moves the medium we're in now. Medium used to drive the message. Now, message drives the medium.
You've been polling for a long time. What changes have you seen in terms of public attitudes about their willingness to vote for women now versus, let's say, 10 or 20 years ago?
They perceive women as weak before.
You don't think the public is more willing to elect women now?
Yeah, I think that you've got a whole different set of voters coming into the electorate, okay? It's what I call information libertarians, where this is people 40 and under. You got to remember, most of the people now the parties were strong simply because of the fact you were working, you were doing this, so they voiced your things. Now, most of the people that work now collect information and disseminate information. So what they do is they collect the information on somebody and decide who they're going to vote for or not vote at all based on that. To reach those people, you have to be more direct.
But is that public more willing to elect a woman now?
Yeah, absolutely.
And are younger voters more likely than older voters to support women candidates?
No, not necessarily. What people are always looking for at the end of the day is, are you advocating my position, or do you see my position? Bob Dylan had a great saying, we all say the same thing with a different point of view. And that's the same thing with politics is, so long as you see what's there, you may have a totally different opinion on it, okay? But if you're committed to addressing the problem, you're going to get votes. And they can go to all the different blogs and all the different websites to see just exactly what you are. And the thing is that you have to be what you are and believe in it. And yeah, I mean, that's the real standard now is, do you represent my views? Do you speak for me and believe it? Not some constructed, commercial that they did.
Is there still a glass ceiling at the executive level? I mean, here in Illinois, for example, we're one of the states that's never had a female governor.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, you got to take it. This is Illinois. This is bare knuckle politics. You don't get anything. They'll put you in some place for convenience, but if you want something, you got to take it.
What do women candidates have to do differently than men?
Not differently than men. It gets back to the B word. You can't be afraid to say what you believe in, and you got to say it with conviction. If people take it that way, they take it that way. But and again, in the social medias now, there's so many blogs, so many websites. You've got to show you're committed to something.
How long before the country sees its first woman president?
They'll see a woman president when they lay out their vision, they lay out their views, and they say, well, it really doesn't make any difference if she's a man or a woman. This is the person that can do the job. Remember, every political office, what you're doing is you're submitting your resume to the voters. And the voters now, with all the information they get, they want to know where you're at, and they want to know where you stand. Don't have to agree with with the position, but know what the problem is.
On that note, we have to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Michael McEwen.
No problem.
We appreciate it.